This podcast is about naming molecular compounds, and by molecular compounds, I mean compounds that are covalent. And covalent compounds are two or more nonmetals, and to review, the nonmetals are going to come from over here. So there's not nearly as many elements to choose from as there are the metals. So the two or more nonmetals, and since these elements together will have negative charges, we could never get negative charges to add up to neutral, so we're not going to look at the charges. In fact, we're going to look at something different. We're going to look at these new prefixes. And the prefixes are at the bottom of the periodic table. And here they are. I think they're mostly correct. So if you need one atom, it's mono. If you need two, it's di. 3 tri, 4 tetra, 5 penta, 6 hexa, 7 hepta, 8 octa, 9 nona, and 10 deca. So you will always have this on the periodic table, but I am guessing that you already know some of these prefixes. So if you were to write the formula for sulfur trioxide, first of all you have to recognize a sulfur is over here on the nonmetal side, and trioxide is also here on the nonmetal side, so it's a covalent compound, and it pretty much tells you how to write it. Sulfur, there's nothing in front of it to tell you how many sulfurs, so it means that there's one. We don't use mono in front of the first word because it sounds kind of silly. And tri means 3, and oxide means oxygen, so it's SO3, 1 sulfur and 3 oxygens. Now if I were to give you carbon dioxide, you would already know what this is. So you have done a lot of these before and you just didn't know it. So carbon, there's 1, dioxide means there's 2 oxygens. So let's say I were to give you a crazy one. Sometimes on a test I just make these up. I'm going to say pentafluorine, because the first word you always spell out the way it really is. So let's say I gave you, great spelling there, I must say, pentafluorine triiodide. Well, pentafluorine would mean 5 fluorine, so F5, and triiodide would mean 3 I's, exactly as it's written out there. And it looks totally weird. I doubt that F5I3 actually exists, but I can make all these things up from here just for fun on the test to see if you know your prefixes. Now let's do the reverse. Let's say I were to give you Cl4. First of all, you have to recognize carbon's over here in nonmetal land. Cl is over here in nonmetal land. So we will not use charges at all. We will not use Roman numerals. We will just use prefixes if we need them. So you have 1 carbon, so you'll just flat out write out the first word out, carbon. Now you have Cl, which is chlorine, but you have 4 of them, so you have to tell me how many there are, and you go down to the bottom of that chart, and 4 is tetra. It's a little bit like Tetris, because there's 4 little blocks in a tetra sheet. So tetrachloride. There also is another way to name this, and we'll learn that in the spring. So you have carbon tetrachloride. All right, smarty pants, let's try naming H2O. Ha, you think it's water, but you'll get minus Plutos. So, nonmetal and a nonmetal, because H is really a nonmetal. It's just the spy on the metal side, go figure. So H is hydrogen, but you have 2 of them, so you have to say dihydrogen. Spelling this, my penmanship is incredible today. And O, you have 1 oxygen, so you have to say monoxide. So if someone tries to sell you for a really high price some dihydrogen monoxide, they are trying to get some serious money out of you for water, so don't believe it. Let's try another one. How about ClO4? Now, I have gotten people on a test with this before. If there is no charge, it is not from the pink sheet. It is not an ion. This one does not have a charge, so it's not from the pink sheet. You have Cl first. It's over here in nonmetal land. And you have oxygen. It's also a nonmetal. So you have 1 chlorine, so you write chlorine. The first word, again, is the full word. It's never truncated, or the suffix ending isn't changed. And you have 4 oxygens. Well, holy cow, in a phonics bucket. you have to do something wonky patonky when you have tetra, which is an A, and then you write oxide. I don't know if it's legal in the phonics world to have an A next to an O like that. I would spell it like that, chlorine tetraoxide, but it may actually be chlorine tetroxide. That A may not be in there. Frankly, on a written test, I don't care, and I won't check you on a multiple choice test based on spelling. That would be totally silly. Let's do one more. How about SO2? Now again, if it doesn't have a charge written next to it, it's not on the pink sheet. It's over here from Nonmetalville. So we have an S. The full name of S is sulfur. Do you feel like you've been sulfuring in this class a lot? Probably. O, you have two O, so that's di. This is perfect. You have a lot of di and sulfuring all at the same time. Di, and then O is oxide. Again, that second word, you change the suffix ending to "ide." So sulfur dioxide. First you sulfur, then you dioxide. Oh, I am so glad I'm the only one that I get to laugh with. I hope you have a pleasant time doing moleculars because they really are the easiest ones. It only gets tough when they're all thrown in the bucket together. Until I see you again, good day.